All right. All right. Well, it is 6 p.m., so we will officially call the meeting to order. I'm standing in for Jim today as he's out of town, but I do believe he is online. But before we go any farther, Brandon, you want to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Absolutely. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, and then let's do roll call. You want to start us off, Jason?
Jason Fields.
Nick Conan.
Matt Smith.
Brandon Slater. Looks like we might have.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Jim McMaster.
Sweet. Well, yeah, like I said, I'm filling in for Jim since he's online today. And as the first time sharing this, I ask everyone to bear with me. If I screw anything up, please don't be afraid to stop me. But do have one goal for tonight, aside from everything on the agenda that I think if we all work together, we can do. We'll try and have Richard not have to remind us at all about mics tonight. It's never been done in my time here, so everybody, Brian, you got your mic over there?
Not my mic.
All right, perfect. Sounds good. Well, without further ado, we'll go ahead and move on. So there was one addition to the agenda, which was the memorandum regarding the update on the lease agreement between Newburgh-Dundee School District and Oregon and CPRD. So we're going to move that from the consent agenda down right after item E, so right before we hear the community service.
And Director Conan, just to let the public know, there's a copy of the memo that was introduced that's related to the item that was item 6C, and that's what's being moved to the action items. If you'd like an additional copy for yourself, then you're welcome to ask, and staff will be happy to print it off for anyone that's in the room.
So yeah, that will be moved to 7F, and then community survey results will go to G, just so we can get all the action items done before the community survey, the results on that. All right, so motion to approve the agenda as it stands, with the exception of the change there.
I'll second it if that was a motion.
I was asking for.
Oh, yeah. Motion is stated.
Thank you.
I second.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, so then we'll move into public participation. It looks like we've got a few. First is Michael Gunn here. All right, sweet. And so, Michael, we've got a microphone over there. So, yeah, if you get up there, Michael, if you could just state your address, full name, and then we'll try and keep this around 3 minutes, please. I'll give you the 3-minute warning.
My name is Mike Gunn. I'm an attorney. I've been before this board before, not as an attorney. I was retired for 16 years. Got back in the business on a part-time basis about 2 years ago. My address is P.O. Box 272, Dundee 97115. I represent the Crystal Riley Park equestrians. The only reason I'm speaking here tonight is because it's not as to an agenda item. I see that, and I will applaud you. You have amended the agenda. Item 5 originally on the agenda was public comments and possible board action. I've been in contact 2 or 3 times this week with Justin Thorpe, your counsel, and told him what our issues were, etc. And I see that that's been removed because it's very rare for a board to ever take any action on anything that's not an agenda item unless it's some kind of an emergency, etc. Basically, the reason I'm here is because I'll call it the equestrians as a acronym. You know, had information that they had gleaned that there were going to be people here, organizations, however you want to characterize it, that were going to ask the board to basically modify the policy of the board as far as the Riley Park is concerned to allow mountain bikes being in quotes, that's an undefined item, as to that use there, and they're absolutely prohibited now. I would submit that's a major policy change, and certainly I would think this board would not want to undertake a policy change like that without having undergone quite a lot of due diligence, et cetera. Now, I'm not aware, neither are any of the board members, et cetera, the client, are aware of any formal written application, proposal, whatever, that's been submitted to this board to modify this policy. Now, there's been a lot of verbal talk about that, a lot of it informal, a lot of it between board members and these people, et cetera. They certainly have a right to express their opinion, but it's our position that on an issue this important right here requires proper procedure, just like a land use hearing does. Now, this is not a land use hearing, but in any kind of a land use hearing akin to this situation, you got to make a formal application with the governing body is the thing. Now, I know that the Park and Rec doesn't have an application form per se on this, but it's our position that if in fact the board is going to consider, we're not advocating you to consider that, we're obviously opposed. I'm not going to get into the merits, that's not the position, that's not the purpose of this right here. But if the board is in any way inkling that the board is going to consider something like this, it's incumbent on the board to require whoever is wanting the board to consider that to make some kind of a formal application written with justifications. You can't just come before the board and say, hey, I think this is a good idea, and leave it at that. As you know, when you make any kind of an application, like a land use application, that first of all goes to whoever the first point is. Normally it's the city, the planning director of the city, or in this case here, it would be the director. It dovetails out to all the associated agencies, et cetera, PGE, fire district, police, you name it, whatever, because they have a right to their opinion on this thing as far as what that's going to affect, if anything, is to those agencies.
And
So-
Michael, if you could just wrap it up, we're at over the 3-minute mark whenever you get a second.
Well, okay, so our position is this. If in fact you have any kind of inclination to consider something like this, here's what I would like out of this board tonight. I would like a statement out of the board that says, if anybody wants to have the board consider modifying the policy that prohibits these bikes at Riley Park, to submit a formal written application with justification that goes out to the director and then all the affected agencies, et cetera, with proper note. I'm going to send a letter to Justin Thorpe requesting that if there is any such application, I'd be copied on anything along with all the documentation that eventually would make it before the board on an agenda item, et cetera. So the public would have the opportunity to come in and oppose or give testimony in favor, whatever. But this is far too important a thing for the board to handle in an informal type basis. So I'd like a statement out of the board, if I could tonight, that would basically agree or tell me that that's what the policy of the board would be. You would not make any kind of a decision without a formal application and justification and going through the proper procedures, and then obviously a formal hearing in front of the board.
Awesome. Thank you, Michael.
Okay?
Thank you.
All right, and then this is yours, Michael. Any other public comment that I'm missing right now? All right, sounds good. So we will move on to the approval of the consent agenda. Any discussion amongst the board? Any comments from staff on the consent agenda?
I would just remind the board that the consent agenda now only includes items 6A and 6B. 6C has been moved.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask a question?
Yeah.
Is the board going to discuss my question tonight?
I do not intend on discussing it tonight, but it's something we can talk about making an agenda item at our next meeting.
Okay. So is the board, no, the board's not going to consider anything as far as making any decision tonight? That's my question.
Correct. The board will not discuss or make a statement this evening, no.
For the board, we do have your counsel is available. I believe he's on Zoom. If you would like to hear his remarks and if there's anything that he would like to advise your board,
Yeah.
if that's desired.
Yeah, I think it's best that we just potentially put this on as an agenda item in the next meeting. Yeah.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
All right, so now moving to section 7, item A. So,
We need to vote.
Does everyone need to?
We should probably at least do a,
Motion second, yeah. So
Yeah.
we should do a roll vote. For Alyssa.
Aye. Jason Fields.
Nick Conan.
aye.
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 All right, so section 7, item A, the board meeting calendar for 2026. Any additional comments from staff on this? Any discussion amongst the board? Basically, the calendar is listed in the meeting packet, very similar to this year, third Thursday of every month, with the exception of August and this November.
I did have a little question, and maybe the two senior board members can educate me a little bit. It seemed like the board previously had never met in July, but then switched it. So is that the recommendation moving forward?
It did, when we look back a little further, it just seemed like it'd been inconsistent.
I see.
And so sometimes they had, sometimes they had not. I've found things in our regulations that say the board doesn't meet in July, but then it also says in the same exact document that it does meet in July when there's an election year. So it seems like you're just trading probably about every 2 years or so, whether or not you do it. And then also, so it seemed like just pushing that out to August and going dark in August, as opposed to the one immediately following when the board becomes effective, when there's new board members, seem more advisable. And it's still the idea that there's some certainty in the summertime when we're busy, where board members can know they can take an extended time period out with family. They don't have to worry about prepping for a board meeting. Staff can do that too, and also get away from the publication cycle associated with it. But again, if the board doesn't want that, we don't have to do it. And it won't be written in stone. It'll just be what we generally plan for. So.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, and I'll just add that in my 2 very short years here, the no meeting in July is just kind of bizarre because every other July it's an election year. And then we end up in a situation where the new board should probably be sworn in. Shall be is, I think, the terminology for
my
the
understanding.
So, yeah, so this makes sense, as much as I hate to have a meeting in July, because my birthday's in July. But it's a much cleaner policy.
All right, well, can I have a motion to approve the CPRD Board of Directors 2026 calendar of regular meetings, and also make this calendar sort of a reoccurring annual calendar going forward?
I'll make a motion as stated.
I'll second.
And a vote?
Aye, Jason Fields.
Aye.
I
Aye.
Aye, Jim McMaster.
Thank you.
All right, so now looking at the budget calendar. So any additional comments from staff on the budget calendar as proposed?
No, I would say that the only real comment I would have is that there was a work session proposed to be added, and that's so that if there are questions from the members, so the budget committee, right, is members who are board members, and then there are the appointed members. And so if there are questions that are more, what can we expect, that a work session gives us an opportunity to address what we're planning on putting in the proposed budget before you see it, so that if some of that's going to land poorly or just not be palatable, staff knows or can get some advice to calibrate it correctly. So that's where the value in that lies, is we want to have an opportunity to consult before you just get it and feel you're subjected to the proposed budget, that you get to help staff craft it in that way. So that was the rationale there.
And do you have a date in mind for that? I do like that idea, personally.
It was in here, wasn't
March
it?
12th,
Yeah,
it looks like, is what we have.
Yeah.
So we'd want to put out, because there's now an empty seat on the appointed board, we'd want to have staff put out a request to seek a community member for that soon, right?
Yeah, so for tonight, what we were hoping to do was, at a minimum, appoint a budget officer, and then also, knowing that there's a vacancy, give direction to staff. We're happy to go ahead and start recruitment so that we can have that done either at the July, or at the January, or at the February meeting, but do that in a timely manner to get those individuals appointed. But we'll be circling back with anyone who is still on the budget committee, that their term has not expired, making sure they're still planning on serving. If they tell us they're no longer available or interested, we would hear that and we would fly and recruit for that too, and then bring that to you at the first available opportunity. So ideally, that would be at the January meeting that you'd be appointing those members for any vacancies or those that are vacant because someone chose not to re-pursue it.
Okay, well, any discussion amongst the board on that?
So do you want more than one motion on this, or do you feel like that can be bundled and?
You can do one big motion.
Okay.
If you would like.
All right, let's see if I can do this. I'll make a motion to direct staff to advertise and fill the vacancy or vacancies that may exist after discussion with current board of budget committee board members. And I also, in that same motion, adopt the proposed budget calendar for year 26, 27.
And I'll second that one.
And
Oh, is there
number two,
one more?
number two there.
Oh, shoot, I missed one. And to appoint our illustrious superintendent as the budget officer.
There we go. I will second that. I don't know about illustrious, so.
Is there some discussion on this?
Yeah, now's discussion time.
The only thing that I had to say is that I think you phrased it that the staff would look for the budget committee member, and usually the staff brings the information to the board, and then the board selects the budget committee member, whoever that may be.
Right, and so our expectation would be that we would advertise it, so we'll be circling around. And so if I wasn't clear about that, I apologize. So yeah, our expectation is that it is the appointment by the board of directors, and that we're advertising it, answering questions, making sure that people submit applications and do that sort of thing. So the same committee process that we go through with any of our CACs as well as the budget committee.
And staff will be bringing that to us at the January 22nd.
That's correct. That's
So
the plan.
about a month and a half to, okay, yeah.
Can we just can we recommend, I mean, obviously people's schedules are their schedules, but recommend that
we
they
would
come?
really encourage
Yeah.
that any folks that the board knows in the community, that the attendees that are watching or listening that bother to come to our meetings might be great candidates to serve on a budget committee. So, yeah, anyone in the community that seems active, interested, and would be a good fit, please send them our way.
All right, so motion is on the table. Now do we need a vote on that?
We have a second, and once deliberation is over, we're ready for a roll vote.
Sweet.
Yep.
Jim, any other comments based on Clay's response?
No, but thank you.
Yeah, the only thing I might add is if, when staff does have the application ready, if there's links or social media links and the actual application itself, if staff could email that out to the board.
Yeah, we'd be happy.
Then, because I know in the past, as board members, we might say, hey, if you're interested, you should apply. If we have all that available to us, right, on our emails, on our phones, on our laptops, it makes it easier for us to do that recruitment.
We would
All
be
right.
happy to. That's easy.
Jason Fields, aye.
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 Jim McMaster, aye.
Thank you.
All right, now we will move on to item, let's see here, C, discussion of policy direction for district purchasing authority and thresholds. All right. Up here.
Chair, if you'd like, I wouldn't mind kind of introducing this for your board, if you'd like.
That'd be great.
So this is something that's come up and been discussed lightly in the past, certainly with individual board members, and then there have been some discussion kind of been passing with your board. So I had asked to have this added to the agenda, and this is really to clarify where we're at. So we had to go all the way back to 1998 to find the purchasing authority resolution that was included in this item. And so that's going back a while, and one of the places I would typically expect as the new guy to find this would be in our employee handbook. Because the people that really need to know this are not just the public, but certainly our staff. So they know who's got signing authority, when they have it, and what they can do. So I would like to see us do that, but there was a suggestion made that we start with the discussion because it is a big policy. I mean, it affects a lot of things because it's how you use your money. And so what I tried to do was prepare a board letter and then a short analysis document that compared some jurisdictions in the area that seemed like they were reasonably sized and or reasonably similar to us, either geography, what they do, how sized they are. And this included comparing the city of Newburgh, the city of Newburgh, Yamhill County, and Tualatin Hills Parks and Recreation District, and Willamette Lane Park and Recreation District. And so that gave us some that we know have a pretty high quality level of operation, or their neighbors that work in the area and they have these sorts of things in place. And so the table that's shown both in the analysis document as well as in the board letter is intended to help compare some of those procurement thresholds. And what this does too is this does not propose to change what we do when we make purchases in terms of pursuing quotes or doing RFPs, because those are in model code at the state level. And so we're not proposing to exceed those, to do anything that would deviate from those. This would just be when it goes to the board or when it's made a purchase by staff and how that happens. And so one of the things that we don't have is a role-based set of thresholds where there's different roles for staff. It's just, as you saw in that very short resolution, that basically if it's over $10,000 right now, it goes to the board. And we're suggesting that be elevated. Things cost more now. Maybe in 1998 that wasn't a big deal, but that could really slow things down. And you think of a single fleet vehicle or even large equipment. We had the gymnastics equipment that we had to bring to the board, where it's clearly just replacing things that we already do for a program. So we'd like that flexibility to be there. And if we're in question or something seems contentious, we don't mind bringing it to the board. But if there's some way that you'd like to address any concerns, we'd be happy to hear about those.
Just in inflation alone, it's almost $19,000, $20,000 in comparison from $10,000 in 1998 money. So updating it makes sense. As far as the exact dollar amount, it's open for discussion or staff recommendation.
Well, I can say that having a employee handbook policy would be a best practice. I think even the one of the audit findings said something about authority levels or something.
I would be happy to look
I think there was
in
a
our plan of
recommendation,
action
if I
that we
recall.
filed.
Yeah. So I think this is best practice for a number of reasons, and it's in line with how the private sector works. You know, there's different authority levels based on pay grade or job function. So I think this is all very good modernization.
With this, I also had a question if there were any thoughts or preferences. In speaking with one board member, there was a mention of an incentive-based program. Like sometimes there's a local incentive thing where staff can make a recommendation or do a procurement with some kind of relatively minor incentive if you're local, but you have to define what does local mean. And that would be geographically. So is it in our district boundaries? Is it at Yamhill County? Is it within 50 miles of the office? What does that mean? So that you're not arbitrary, so that you have a clear line. And then the other part would be, what does local mean for the business? Is that one employee who lives in Newburgh? Is that one employee who's got a remote office where they're working from home? Does that count? Does it have to be 50% of the employees are in our general area? Does that mean that it's a single brick and mortar office that's somewhere within whatever local is? So if there's a desire for something like that, it would be great to hear what people know about that they could refer us to or what their expectations would be. And, you know, if it comes to the board the first time and you see it and you want to workshop it a little bit or we don't adopt it the first time out, it's not the end of the world, but more direction now is better because it starts us on the right path if there's a desire for that or other similar kind of procurement policies and purchasing authority policies.
I think that something like that can get pretty convoluted pretty quick. Just you talking about it start developing a little bit of a headache. What is a local business? What is a local product? How do we define it? And I think sometimes in government, we have good intentions when we make policies or rules like that, and then it ends up becoming more cumbersome than it needs to be. So
Yeah, and I think we might not be getting the best deal by going that route as well. So
Okay.
I wouldn't want to hamstring us.
And we do already have resident bidder specifications in state code, and so we do adhere to those already.
Right.
So that's not local in terms of at the county level, but still at the state level.
Yeah.
So.
Jim, any comments?
Well, just from a historical standpoint, when we were a lot smaller and the town was a lot smaller, we had that as a policy. I guess you could say it was an unwritten policy, and they've asked us to look to try to purchase local whenever you could as staff. And I can tell you that I don't remember a time or that we really ever did that, but it was something that the board had. So I brought that up to Clay, just so that he would know some history on it, in case anybody came back and said, hey, why aren't you buying local? But I think when we bid it out or asked for quotes, we bid it out to local and so on and so forth too. So I don't see why we need to address that.
Yeah, I agree. I would obviously love to support local, but as Matt said, on paper, it's a lot simpler than when you really get in the weeds. Any other discussions? On page 28 of the board packet is the recommended concept of the updated purchasing policy. If anyone is curious and wants to look at it.
And is this just discussion to give you an idea of direction, or do you want any sort of formal decision?
I don't necessarily need a motion, we could see it on the agenda, but knowing if this is in the general direction the board would expect, then that would be great. If there's any part of this that seemed extra confusing, that doesn't need to be there, that would be good to know.
And just so that we're clear, these items that are on here, these are all things that would be in the budget.
Yeah, this would be for
These are all
budgeted.
budgeted items.
And now that, we could make that a clear policy that accompanies it, that something is unbudgeted, or something
Yeah.
requires a draw-on contingency,
Yeah.
then that comes to the board.
Yeah, I absolutely believe that the only items that should be, that would fall under this are items that are in the budget. Anything beyond that should be a discussion.
Okay.
Agreed.
And do you have a dollar amount?
I think, is it anything over 5,000? Is that what we currently are?
Right now, we're at 10,000, but if we said it's unbudgeted, we'd like to know, and there's a different threshold that makes.
Do we have an unbudgeted thing right now, or is that everything fall under the same thing?
No, we generally, because usually when you're looking at the budget, when something's unbudgeted, it's where you're drawing it from is maybe upside down.
Let's go a different route. Is there anything that we've had to purchase for $5,000 or more in the last 2 years or last year
Well,
that you did not go
for-
to the board?
Not that I can think of.
Well, I think we should
Any
keep it
examples
that
that either
way.
of you have? I mean, we did have an acquisition that was unbudgeted last year because it wasn't contemplated.
Mm-hmm.
And we, for example, there are times where we think we need one product or kind of series of products, and it turns out we need different ones. And so you could argue that that's unbudgeted, but it's more of a, we knew what we knew, and now we know more things.
I think
So-
for transparency's sake, I think we should have it at $5,000 if it's something that is not within the budget.
Okay. And I'll try and define what we're talking about with those and make
Okay.
it clear to the extent that we can.
I don't know if I should raise my hand. How do you guys want to do that? Because I'm not a Zoom guy. But I don't know if we want to get into the weeds that way. I think if it's within their general budget, let's say they have a line item that says janitorial, and it goes over, they buy it from varied people at $5,000 a pop, or even chemicals like fertilizer and so on and so forth. I don't know if we need to go there with the board, as long as they stay within that line item. When they go over that line item, let's say they have, under chemicals, they've got $40,000. When they start going over that, you'll see that in your report each month, and then you start asking questions as a board. I don't know if I want to limit the staff in that way, if you understand how I say that.
What staff can plan on doing is, from both of you, we can try and come up with a policy that is administratively feasible, that still gets to the heart of what you're going for. I think that what is wanted is something that doesn't lead to staff spending making expenditures that aren't properly budgeted for or contemplated. So we'll find a policy. Frankly, we're going to try and take somebody else's fantastic policy and use that for us.
Let me ask another question another way. So, Brian, if you're going to go buy $10,000 worth of plants from XYZ, is that already in the budget somewhere?
Yes.
Okay. And if for some reason somebody comes to you and they say, we've got a deal on plants, you're not sure if you need them, but it's something you think we should buy because the deal is something you shouldn't pass up, is that also in the budget, or is that?
I wouldn't purchase them unless it was.
It was, okay.
To the district.
Okay.
I think I know what you're alluding to. Is
Yeah.
us just randomly purchasing stuff that isn't budgeted per se. That's never happened, and we would have to come to the board for something big emergency for contingency.
So let me ask you, Brian, do you think that you should have to come to us if you are going to purchase $5,000 more that's not in the budget?
That's not in the budget?
That's not in the budget.
Oh, I would think yes.
Okay, see, that's where
very
I'm
fair,
at.
but I think what this is alluding to, what we need to change the old practice of that threshold just doesn't work anymore in terms of, so even if we have it in a budget, it's $11,534 to replace a air mac chiller on top of the pool, we would still have to come to the board to get approval for that, the way it's written right now, or the way we've operated for the past 4 years. And that's not realistic when that emergency repair needs to be done. That's one example.
Yeah.
That money is still budgeted. It comes out of the 470 budget, repair and replacement. So if that was all depleted and these chillers go out, absolutely, we'd have to come to the board.
Yeah.
To get approval for that. But the threshold of where we're at now, it's kind of archaic. And
Yeah.
we need to update our policy, I think, with the board.
Okay.
And then that's why I'm saying that I think things that come out of contingency, that's really, when we talk about unbudgeted things, that's typically the mechanism is when you encounter issues that are unbudgeted, you draw on contingency. And so I think that if we made a policy, something along the lines of anything over 5,000 from contingency or anything that requires contingency funds goes to the board. But I think that would be the expectation anyway, because we're not allowed to direct spend out of contingency. It has to be transferred to a different department or organizational unit.
Okay.
So, but we'll make sure something of that nature is there. And we'll try and make it feasible so everyone can get clear guidance on what that means. But I think the point is taken that we don't want staff spending things that aren't budgeted for.
Sure. So then do you want a motion to be directed to start drafting this policy, or are you just going to kind of draft it and get back to us?
I don't think staff needs a motion. What I hear is that this seems generally acceptable with the concept we have. We'll build it out further. We'll include some issue related to unbudgeted expenditures and contingency, and there will be a policy related to that.
And then it'll just be brought back to us.
And it'll be brought back as early as January, but maybe not till February. So we'll see when it
Yeah.
gets back to you. We have some other things that are going on in the employee handbook too, so I want to bundle those together.
Perfect.
Does that give you the answers you need, Clay, from our end
It
to
does.
move forward?
It does, unless there's burning questions from perhaps Brian or Julie. Hearing none.
Okay.
Thanks, Brian.
And thanks for
All right.
all the comparison documents, especially the Yamhill County one, particularly dense and meaty.
All right, so moving on to item D, the Pickleball Citizens Advisory Committee. Kind of want to provide an update on that, and then, we'll provide an update. And I think we have Cheryl here from this Citizens Advisory Committee. So Cheryl, would you like to sort of give the board an update on the status of that committee? And say anything? Or I can, if that's easier. So the Pickleball Advisory Committee met in October and made the decision to dissolve as a formal Citizens Advisory Committee and transition to the group, transition to more into a focus group of volunteers, of sort of experts in the field. And so I guess it's our job to accept that resignation of the Citizens Advisory Committee. Do you guys have any, I was there, do you guys have any questions, comments, concerns?
I just appreciate all the hard work that they did.
Yeah. Any,
Yeah, do we have any formal way of providing recognition for volunteer committee
that's,
folks?
I think, the next item on the agenda. But first, we have to accept we have the motion to accept, or approve a motion to dissolve the committee. Is my
I will
understanding.
as stated.
Yeah.
I make the motion as stated.
I second that motion. All in favor?
Any discussion?
Any discussion? Sorry, forget the discussion. Thanks.
Jason Fields, aye.
I
Aye.
Jim McMaster, aye.
Thank you.
So then our next item is to adopt the resolution recognizing the Pickleball Advisory Committee and its contributions. So Julie, do you want to speak a little to that, as you've been part of the committee from its inception and seen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the group that we've had, the 2 advisory committees, I would say, have just been exceptional people. They really had so much information to give staff that really moved this project along. And they everybody came every night or every, month or whenever we decided to have a meeting, and their input was just very valuable. There were some things that we didn't know, that we didn't think about, that would be important, and they really did a great job of communicating that to us. So.
Yeah.
Well, I hope that you all still get together and provide us recommendations on sound barriers, the viewing issues that might come up, and then eventual issues with respect to the covering, the lighting, the next phases. Maybe there's even like private money out there too, private grants that can be explored. So hopefully the group continues in a formal way advising us, because we're not always the experts up here on specifics to the sport. So.
And we did talk at our last meeting about, this doesn't mean that they can't come in and talk to us. We really value their opinion, so we would encourage them to do that, just in a less formal way. Mm-hmm. Right?
It's my understanding as a focus group, we will meet,
Yep.
look into grants, look into, that second phase, we don't want to forget about that. I know the sound barriers and the viewing areas and all of that kind of stuff, that's what we're here to help with.
Yep.
And we're more than happy to do that.
And they have been cooperative, and I think it allows some extra flexibility, particularly when groups of passionate people on a certain topic, or that are volunteers or have been volunteers in one way, and now they'll just be volunteers in a different way, helping the district. And they'll be working pretty directly with staff, and so I think we're happy to create some structure so they know when and where to show up and have those good conversations. Staff can benefit from that too, and so it's really appreciated that we can do that. But it takes some of those clunky requirements associated with things when they're advising the board. The committee is required to follow those public meeting laws. When they're really just working with staff, they're volunteers. And so we want to make sure it's not harder than it needs to be to have good outcomes working with the community. So I think the pickleball committee has been great, and we want to really honor the work they've done so far by making it easier for them to do good work in the future.
Yeah, on page 217 of the board packet, there's a great resolution that was put together that I would encourage people, if they have time, to take a look at. But I'll preface this with saying that I'm incredibly biased, but I think the work that this group did was incredible. I was on the committee and really enjoyed working with everyone, and to see the opinions and thoughts and ideas that each individual member brought was awesome, and a great practice in volunteerism and volunteering your time and energy and knowledge. So great job to the Pickleball Advisory Committee. Cheryl, anything else you would want to add as a representative of that committee? At the mic, please.
I love it. I just want to I want to personally thank the board for listening to us, for making this happen. The Jaquith Courts Complex is going to be a great asset to the community. They were, for being open to making this happen. I really appreciate it. We will continue. Our plan is to continue to support, look into ways to fundraise, to help maybe, once, I have no idea what a dollar amount would be for a structure, or what the structure should look like. And that's another layer that we need to look into. I know Eugene is building one, and it might be kind of nice to make a field trip and go see what they have found. Lighting is going to be a real trick, and an imperative to get it right. So anyway, I'm just really excited to play on the new courts in the spring.
Thank you, Cheryl. Jim, anything to add?
Yeah, I had the privilege of being able to serve on that committee in this last round. And Cheryl, I do appreciate the cookies, but that's not the reason I came. They were very good. Appreciate that. But with that said, there were a lot of bumps in the road on with this committee over the last 4 years, whatever. And people, worked everything out and went in the right direction. And I'm excited to see this completed. I'm only disappointed that we couldn't complete it earlier, but reality is we are going to have it completed and we'll be able to use it. And it'll be a special addition to our community. So thank you for all your passion, folks. Nick, even though you're a board member, thanks for helping to head that up. And Cheryl, being there for so long, it's going to come to fruition. Thank you.
Awesome, thanks. Any other discussion?
Are we making a motion to adopt the resolution?
Yeah, I think the last thing I wanted to just acknowledge is thanks to Julie for being an awesome staff liaison, always showing up, staying late, and probably hearing more about pickleball than you ever wanted to.
No, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed you guys. And made a lot of friends, actually, right?
Good. But yeah, Brandon, do you want to make that motion?
Yeah, sure. I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution in recognition and appreciation of the Pickleball Citizens Advisory Committee.
A second?
Any other discussion?
Jason Fields, aye.
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 Jim McMaster,
Thank you.
All right, so now we will move on to the addition or the change into the agenda to the memo regarding the lease agreement between CPRD and the Newburgh Dundee School District.
Right. Since this one both had a memo that was that supplemental material, as well as resulted in the amended agenda in the first place, I just want to make sure that I'm happy to answer questions. In short, the Oregon Parks and Recreation Department requested that our IGA with the school district be converted into a lease agreement. From their perspective, one of the big things, and I put this as kind of issue 1 and issue 2 in the board letter, one of the big things is they're worried about it converting into something else after the investment has been made. And so that's what they wanted, an assurance that wouldn't happen. And then 2, they wanted to make sure that the primary use is a public use. There are other programs for schools to get funds. This is a program dedicated for parks, and so it's intended to do that. So the memo specifically was what OPRD staff came back to our project manager later than we would have hoped for, but still we got it, as opposed to approving it and then finding out. And they wanted us to make that language tighter to give us primacy on that. But I would say that we still want to have a great relationship with the school district. We use their facilities all the time. We want them to be able to use this facility. It's good for the public because it's good for the students, and it creates people who want to be active all through their life. But we'll figure out a way to operate this with them so that the public does have lots of use on that site, and so they get to use it too. I could see versions of this where the public has a great, unique facility for a public park where they can really do a lot of different activities all in one space. It would be fantastic.
Has the school board adopted this yet?
They adopted, that's a great question. They adopted our prior language, so they're going to have to either administratively or in a public session agree to the amended language. But this language was done in coordination with the school district and OPRD by our project manager, Laura. So that we believe that this is going to be palatable to all parties.
And can we, if this does come up on the school board's agenda, can staff notify the board so we can?
We'd be happy to notify the board and let them know. And the other thing is because it's been a change, I'd probably like to be there to answer
Yeah.
the questions they have. And we'll try and make sure that I am there or another staffer is there to represent CPRD.
So just to provide a little bit of history, obtaining the IGA itself was, this is just my opinion, I'm speaking personally, was far, far, far more difficult than it should have been. The communication between the lawyers back and forth was not good. The communication between the board was not good, and then the superintendent musical chairs situation. So what I'll just say, what I do not want to happen is this kind of be nonchalantly sent over there without good communication, good representation from our board and our staff. And then it goes to that board and they poo-poo it and we end up back on square one from 4 years ago. That would be a disaster because this is the most important project that our district has. Youth sports and the ability for youth sports to actually play year-round and practice in the falls and the springs and give Brian and his staff the ability to maintain some of our other fields that are overused and become mud pits because of the weather. And then also what this means for that side of town. Rennie Field, as it currently is close to becoming a blight on that side of town because it's aged and because it hasn't been updated. And obviously it's not our property, so I'm not speaking negatively about what we've done there. I think we've done the best we can given the situations, but this has got to be priority like number one, and we need to be prepared to get this out to bid spring, summer. We can't do this thing which has happened the last few years. Oh, our lawyer didn't get a hold of their lawyer, and then they had questions that went unanswered, and so now we're going to just push it back another year. No, that is not okay. So I'm not trying to be overly dramatic on this, but I've seen this happen. So as long as we're very prepared when this comes up to their board.
It seems like, Clay, that the motion recommendation kind of covers that. You would take this to the school board, to the school, or to the superintendent of the school district and work through that issue?
The goal is for all parties to sign it, and it's going to include their board president or their board chair or president, as well as their superintendent, just as we will do it through our board president. And so it's both elected and administrative in the signature, so they'll have to know it. But I think the point is taken, too, that we need to be good communicators and put our best foot forward proactively to make sure that relationship happens so that nobody drags their feet, has hurt feelings that we can't get around, and those sorts of things. And so I think staff is happy to be proactive. We'll be happy to let our board know so that you're in the know, that when it's headed to their agenda, in case there's contacts you all want to talk to. And then we will plan on having a staff member there to speak up on behalf of CPRD and make sure that they understand that this language, although it's enhanced to give primacy to CPRD and the public, we still want to work very closely with them. We want the students to have access to this too. It's right next to the school, and it's going to be a great facility. And, I mean, those are the students that are in our programs. So we have no problem with them getting that being their home field and them feeling good about it.
Can I also add too that I believe that it's going to be a safer area.
Oh, yeah.
We'll have lights out there, and we've been in touch with Lutheran Family Services. They have the what do I want to say, the classrooms outside to the right of the district office, and they were concerned, and they wanted to know, what was this going to look like? But they really are going to. They said they really are going to appreciate the safety, like the lights, the more people coming or visiting that area. So I thought that was a big factor in this decision as well. So
Jim, something to add?
Yeah, I don't disagree with what Matt said. The waters were muddy quite a bit thicker in the past. But I don't want to have too many people involved in this. I'd like to request, and the board back me on this, that you spearhead this effort as our superintendent, since you're going to be dealing with their superintendent and the board, and you be the one to spearhead and get information from Julie on what you need, but you be the one to spearhead it. Board members can be involved in the background, but I think if too many people get involved, I think that can be cumbersome at times. So if you could spearhead that, take that on. I don't think there's going to be a problem, but we've said that before, and I think Matt would agree with me on that. So, and it is, like you stated, and everybody knows, this is for all of the children, as well as adults in our community to be able to use. And I think that the way, when I read over the new lease agreement, I thought the verbiage was better than what we had before, that will help both entities. So that's just my take on it.
So Clay, would you like a motion to accept the change in the language?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, I will motion to approve and accept the amended language discussed and shown below.
I would ask,
Second it.
if I could I just want to make it clear that the motion includes the entire lease agreement with the amended language.
Okay. Yes, so motion that we accept the entire lease agreement with the amended language.
A second?
Discussion?
Sounds good. I know my kids run the jogathon there every year because they go to Edwards, so it'll be
Jason
nice
Fields,
to not
aye.
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 Jim McMaster, aye.
Thank you.
All right, so moving on to the community survey results. Clay, I'll let you take this one on here.
All right, so we're going to have slides posted just shortly here, but as we get in there, I'm going to go through relatively quickly. But I wanted to kind of do the highlight reel that's in the executive summary portion of this as far as the presentation. And I'll probably add a couple of comments on the why aspect of why we asked these questions and what some of those objectives were. But there's a lot more to go into. We were very pleased with the response that we got from the community. This is the first time we've done something like this. I'm sure we can do it bigger, better, more thorough, more targeted, all sorts of things in the future. I'd like to see us doing something like this perhaps as often as every 2 years. Because we did this in-house and we were able to do that. We're not claiming that this is a statistically valid survey. Hang on a second. Richard, if you're there, could you please post the slides when you have an opportunity? But one of the big objectives we had was asking people, how are we doing now? Thank you, Richard. Asking them what they thought of certain facilities. So we tried to split the difference too on the way that we asked the questions, asking some that were more quantifiable. And so those were the ones where you see more of a Likert scale from 1 to 5, how we do. And others that were more qualitative, just those open-ended responses. The problem with the open-ended responses, although they're rich, they give you a lot of information, it takes a long time to read through 600 plus open-ended comments, but that doesn't mean they're not important. And so these have also been shared with staff so that staff in the different programs can do it. And when we look at some of the different file types that are available, when we use the tool we used was SurveyMonkey, we can download those as an Excel sheet. And so if someone tells us that their most important activity in their household is swimming, then our aquatics folks can look at that. And they can maybe focus on those open-ended comments because those are their folks. So up here we see a pie chart. That's the overall response rate that we got was 829 people. So we had a couple of different ways that we were collecting surveys or collecting responses. And so one, we were driving people to the website as a primary thing, both in social media as well as any of the other things we had going out, including kind of getting mentions in Newsburg and the Newburgh Graphic. But we also had those included in our mailer that we sent out, and we sent that to every household in the district. We hadn't done that in quite a long time, but we had a QR code there. QR codes are not something for everybody, but they are something for some people. So that was the point. We're not going to get everybody with any single method, so you have to use multiple. Social media, we didn't have as many direct clicks on that, but we still know that they were driving people to the website and then using that. And then we even included some of those QR codes in your board packets. So whether it was board members or our fan club that was doing those off the board packet, that's great. But we try to do that for any of those kind of incidental letters and things like that that we sent out, like board packets. And on this one, we see the distribution. So the top 4 or 5 responses that we see, those that were above, I rarely hear about this, were our website, Facebook specifically, word of mouth, Newsberg, and direct emails from CPRD. So direct emails, we have a mailing list of about 10,000 people. And so we are trying to leverage that for big district-wide things like this too. And so we've done some things with that where we've started making sure we're not piecemealing ourselves too much. We have a great list. We should use it, although we should use it judiciously so people don't unsubscribe or stop paying attention. Then on the next slide, let's see what we have going there. Thank you. So there were a couple of things that we took as we went by certain key questions. And so one, I thought it was really fascinating. The number of people that most of the people that took this survey were people that knew us really well or knew us pretty well. We didn't have a whole lot of people that were not familiar with us at all. And that was one of the goals in including it in the mailer. We were hoping we would get more people that don't know much about us to take it. But that's always a hard demographic to get. So we didn't get many of those, but when you read the results, I think it's important to think about these are people who do know us pretty well. So that's who's evaluating us. Then the next one, we kind of get our average rating for park facilities and recreation service. So this is the everything we do. And we got a 3.7 out of 5. I think that's pretty good. It gets towards the pretty good column that was the 4. I also tried to use familiar language as opposed to being excessively stuffy. It doesn't seem necessary for parks and recreation to be too stuffy. So I think that we can make that even better in the future, but it gives us something to think about where are we at now. And we also see, I think it's interesting to see the distributions on this. So that means half the people that took the survey did give us that 4-star rating. But there are those people that give us that failing and poor ratings that we don't like to see. So how can we minimize those and get some that are more on that excellent scale and even more on that pretty good scale? Then in the next slide, this is one where someone would have gone through several different questions and been saying, how familiar are they with us? So we want to know, how well do you know us? And some of that is knowing what people are using. And some of that is also knowing what things do people not really know about that we need to do a better job promoting. So we tried to, in this one, the green means very good, the blue means okay, and the yellow, we'd like less of it. So some of the things at the very top, we saw the Aquatic and Fitness Center, our hiking trails, cultural center, playgrounds. Those all scored really high, same with our natural and wildlife areas. Then some that scored a little lower, they're not the end of the world. Those are just more special use facilities like our senior center, our BMX track, disc golf, and skate park. And I would say that I think both our disc golfers and our BMX tracks, they clearly participated in the survey, and it was really great to see that because those are special activities. And so they were in there and told us what they thought. So that means our survey is getting out there. So kudos to both of those groups for spreading the word. On the next one, Q6, we talk a little bit more about less so on facilities and more so on programs, on what do we know and what are we familiar with. You see our markets and those sorts of events scored really well. Aquatics also scored quite well. And then some of our other community events that are like the Camellia Festival and the Easter egg hunt, father-daughter dance, also scored pretty high. So it's great to see that those events, those programmatic activities, which that's not a structure, so you have to really find it and know about it, that people know to go there and know to do that. Then going to the next one on Q7, most important park and recreation facilities. So this is really asking about the stuff, the things you can touch, feel, and interact with. We got really high scores from hiking trails and natural and wildlife areas, playgrounds, and our aquatic and fitness center, even some other ones. So overall, we did pretty good. I think what we tended to see on some of the other ones that didn't score as high, again, it's not necessarily bad, it's just that they tend to be specialized facilities. Now, if we saw that our playgrounds or our aquatic and fitness center were down amongst those special use facilities, that would be a bad indicator. So we want to see those bigger flagship ones that we expect everyone to know about, that they actually do know about it. So then on the next slide, as we go through, we're looking at how often do you visit our parks or recreation facilities. I thought this was nice to see too. So that we had 72.5% of our respondents visited a park or recreation facility 1 or more times per week. when we think about healthy communities and healthy lifestyles and those sorts of things, that is a great indicator for us to know something about. And so I think that that's something that we could count on of how well are we serving the community. If we can have that number keep going up, that's something for us to shoot towards. When we think about, could we ask meaningful questions to the community at large? It doesn't seem like it's a big important question, but to me, it feels like it's a big important question on how many people are making use of what they're offered from CPRD. Then on the next one, how important are recreation? So we move from how familiar are you with things to how important are these to you? And so that's where we're asking, what is the value to you and to the quality and where we kind of invest in things. And so we asked how important are recreation program and activities. Youth sports scored really high, and I will point out that we have an internal thing that I'd like to see us resolve from a communication standpoint where we have departments that are structured a certain way, but when you look at things, recreation actually offers a number of sports as well as youth sports offering those. So we get some kind of arbitrary bifurcations. We need to make sure it's easy for people to find what they're looking for, because recreation actually does all the facilitation, for example, gymnastics and cheer, things like esports. But then our leagues, those are in the ones that are called youth sports. But we don't want to accidentally hide things from the public. So we want to make sure we think about these things and think about if we do something like an activity brochure in the next year, how do we make it so that is a clear communication, someone could easily find stuff. And then think about our website and registration stuff the same way. Again, I think we saw some of the things that not everybody needs, but we saw lower values on some things that'll give us some pause to think about what do we do about that in the future. Should things be more valuable? Should they be more known? Or are those about where they should be? On the next slide, when we go to Q12, we get how often do you participate in recreation programs or activities? Now this is lower, and I think this is acceptable for this to be lower. We could always want it to go higher just like the other one, but programs only typically occur at discrete times. So a park is open all day long. You can pop in whenever you want, but that class you might want to go to at the aquatic center, it's not offered all throughout the day. It's offered a couple of times. So I think that this is giving us our baseline, and we need to ask ourselves in the future, can we do things that make things available at a greater percentage where people are getting those hits more commonly? So, and that'll be another indicator for us to think about in terms of success. When we look at the next slide about top responses, this was really a temperature check. People are allowed to be interested in whatever they want to be interested in, and we're asking about the activities. What is your household's favorite activity? One, we said household because some people, their activity is not the most important thing to their family. So if I'm taking the survey and I'm the parent of a child, my child's activity is the most important thing to my household, potentially. But for other people, it's that one activity. Other things are, most people do many activities. So making them pick just one was intended to be hard. And so we tried to get those top responses in there. These are not all completely exclusive either, and we had people do write-ins on the other column, but I tried not to do a complete audit on this and do too deep a dive. But we start getting a temperature check of what we're seeing as some of those really popular activities. And again, popular activities with the people who know about us, the people who already engage with us. We don't know much about the people that don't currently engage with us, which is going to be a hard thing for us to learn, but a good one for us to find out in the future. On this slide here, that rating of 3.9, that's about overall satisfaction with park facility and maintenance. So this is one, the board tends to hear the public commenters that come in, and I will tell you, just like on Yelp, it is much easier to get people hot and bothered and come here and tell us how outraged they are than to tell us what a great job we're doing. That one's a tough one to get. But it's great to see something here when people who say they know us pretty well, not that they've never heard of us before, and they say that we're doing a little better on this than we even were on our overall. And so we saw that as being a really positive thing, where we see that now on the excellent rating, we see 25.6%. I was pretty pleased with that. And that we see that pretty good rating at 44.8%. And still have room to do better. If I'm going to a restaurant and I'm looking at Yelp, I'd like to be in the 4s. So I think there's still something for us to shoot for in getting better. One of the other things that I thought was really interesting was asking about barriers, and this was one of our staff. One of our staff pointed out, they said, please don't make cost the very first thing on the list when you put it on the survey, because the order you put things in matters. They're like, that is an easy answer, but put it on there, but just don't make it the very first one. So we tried to get thoughtful about that. But one of the things I was pleased with was that that we had none of the above clicked by almost a quarter of the respondents. So I thought that was good, that there was no real barrier that they were kind of saying that it wasn't something they had. But again, getting into those programmatic ones, it's hard to find the right time and offer enough programs that it fits everyone's schedules. They're all over the map. So not enough time scheduled, not available when I have time. Those are things we can give some thought to, because that was that other biggest response. And then the other responses on this that were the open-ended responses, those would be good things for folks to dive into if they're really curious about barriers. But barriers are something we do want to look at and remain aware of. So then on this next slide, oh, hang on a second. Richard, could you advance that slide? That's the barriers one, the pie chart. So the big green slice of pie is the none of the above. So that's the one where they didn't list any specific barrier. But then the big blue slice is the not enough scheduled time. So on the next slide, we talk about which groups people need more or improved facilities and services. So we loaded this mostly with age cohorts and then individuals with disabilities. But saying individuals with disabilities is really broad. There are all sorts of different things that can limit people's ability to participate in things. There can be any number of things. So this was hard. But one of the things I did want to get to was thinking about age. Are we talking about seniors? Are we talking about youth? Are we talking about somebody in between? I know we don't have our youth compared with our adult sports. There's a massive difference on who we serve, but we didn't see people, demanding that one as something we need to do more of either in the survey results. So we tried to see those and ask people about who needs more improved facilities and get a little bit about that. How important are the following projects? So that's the, Richard, if you'd advance that 2 slides, please. There he goes. So, so the one on the preceding slide was just the one that I was talking through on kind of age cohorts and need for access. But this one is about board priorities. And so I took most of the board priorities word for word, and then also, well, I didn't take them word for word. We basically pared them down, but tried to keep those priorities present so we could think about what is the public telling us about what's important to them, about the things we're thinking about for the future. So we've been talking about what are you familiar with, what's important to you about what we already have, and of the things we're contemplating, how important is this to you? How much does this resonate with you? And some of those things we saw in there are really great to see them doing well, and we can also see which ones are more special use facilities, more special use programmatically, and those sorts of things. And I think those are the ones where we saw it resonate less so. So those were some of the things we wanted to share with the board, kind of what the public had to say about those strategic planning priorities and what we converted those into. Now the next slide, which is about place of residence, I wanted to compose this slide. Did I skip one? Oh, so there's, in this slide, this is the closer to raw data, the questions they were actually asked, but we did kind of a lumping exercise, which is what you see in the executive summary. And on the next slide, you'll see it consolidated, which I think is a little more useful at a high level. So if Richard would advance it 1 to the next one, there we go. So that kind of lumps it more into the general categories of Newburgh area, Dundee area, other areas in Yamhill County, outside of Yamhill County and other. And then I compared that against some American Community Survey data as well as some data from our district master plan. And again, we're not claiming this is a statistically valid survey, but we do see that, for example, the Newburgh area, our estimated percent of service area population for Newburgh is about 70.9% of our, by population, is about 70.9%. And this survey, the respondents were about 68%. So that was pretty on target, but we had some slight underrepresentation for the Dundee area based on what we're seeing. We also had some underrepresentation of residents of Yamhill County who are in the unincorporated areas. And then we also had overrepresentation for people outside of Yamhill County because that's not who we count towards our service area population. So that's automatically going to be our kind of our outside of Yamhill County. And many people did tell us when they listed other, they told us where they were from. They just wrote it in. And so if someone was from Wilsonville or Sherwood or wherever, they often wrote that in. So, but I also didn't want to play with the results too much. I just wanted to report what we got when we did this. So then on the next one, let's see what's on the next slide here. So we asked people about their age, too. We also asked them about gender, but I don't think we learned a ton from gender of completion, although we did have more women complete the survey than we did men by a fair margin. The age, one of the things I would point out, which is why I wanted to include that, oh, we did include gender, thank you. But on age, one of the things I pointed out that in the future, I think we'll ask for help from the school district in helping promote the survey, because I would really like to see people that are under the age of 18 participating in the survey. Because when we think about those new future projects, if something takes us 5 or 10 years to get it to come to fruition, they're now an adult. Now they care, and maybe they're willing to fill out a survey, but they could have filled it out years ago for us. So if we can get the young people to also participate at a higher rate, I think we'll benefit from that, because we'll basically learn earlier what they're into. Or if they know what they're into, maybe they don't. I'm not sure. So, and then the next one, I think that might be the last slide. What else did I put in there? So the next slide should be it. That's the gender one, so you see the women are overscoring. Up, children in the household. So again, good question to ask. I don't know if it's going to change what we do. It's just kind of a, who are we working with? Who are we working for? And then on the next slide, all right, one more. I think it's the last one. I don't actually have my slide deck in front of me other than having it up on the screen. There we go. So that's it. So that's the presentation of the results. We are, I don't know that we've published this so far. I plan on basically putting this on the website so that the public gets a chance to look at it, putting it somewhere that they can readily dive right in, or at least make sure we recorded what they told us. So with that, I would say, do you have any questions or do you have any comments that you want to share with one another? Staff doesn't need any specific direction on this item. We wanted you to get this, and we're really pleased that we were able to do it. I hope you are too.
Since that's quite a bit to digest, do we just want to go one by one and on comments, starting with Brandon?
Sure. Just thank you for putting it together, all the staff and all the questions, and thank you to the public for taking the survey. And I apologize I forgot to have my kids take it, so I intended to, and then slipped my mind.
Surveys are always interesting, but I believe they should be taken with a grain of salt. One of the things that stood out to me is by far and away, our youth sports and our fields are the most used things we have in our district. We all know that, it's pretty obvious, but I think they were kind of in the middle or the bottom, like in 40% of the respondents. So that kind of shows you that this isn't really capturing the primary users of the district. It's kind of over capturing different user groups who were just fired up at a specific point in time. So I think what you said, having the school district help, because obviously youth sports are something with school-age children. A lot of those parents have a lot of opinions, but I don't know if they necessarily broke through into the survey. I think I'd really like to see what they think. But I mean, any information's good. Just has to be seen with the correct, I guess. What's the word?
Lens, perspective.
Lens or perspective, yeah. So yeah, so I got.
Yeah, to kind of piggyback Matt. So yeah, we didn't get the ton of respondents of the youth sports you mentioned, but one thing that I thought was really interesting is sort of on, I can't remember which figure it was, but people listing their most important recreation program, and youth sports. 65% of respondents said it's very important. 25% said it's somewhat important. So that that's people clearly care about our youth sports, and it's important to their households. I also really thought that figure 15 was important, where you listed out the sort of the strategic goals and plans that we decided on as a board, and I kind of surveyed the public on how important they really are to them. And so I just think as we move forward, that's something to refer to, but I completely agree with Matt. take it with a grain of salt. Then the last thing, so the number one barrier to entry, or like the biggest piece of the pie, Clay, was, like you said, none of the above. And then the next biggest was not available when I have time. That just quickly got me thinking about this time of year when the sun goes down at 4:30, and got me excited about like lights at the Rennie track. That gives people who work during the day something, a way to go be active after they get off work. And it also made me think of, if we could get lighted tennis courts, pickleball courts, that will take away that barrier of entry, or at least give opportunities for people to utilize our district at different times of day. That's all I got.
Well, as I was looking at this here the other day and looking again today on the slides, it was evident that I think the general public thinks that we're doing a great job throughout CPRD. We don't have dilapidated parks. I believe that based on what we see here, the general public thinks that we're doing a good job. And the other thing is everything that we do is about families and kids, and it looks like we've got more families with kids based upon just simply the results we got from this. So I commend you guys for doing a great job and getting this sent out, and we'll keep moving forward.
Jim, anything?
Yeah, when our superintendent was hired, the board directed him to get community feedback, and he has attempted that. This isn't perfect, but it's a great step, and I appreciate the superintendent and the staff putting this together. I think that, and they did it in-house. I know a lot of agencies will spend a lot of money to do this, but they used our funds wisely. They did it in-house. I know it wasn't easy to do, and there was a lot of work involved, but it basically is the first step for us to see what folks in our district would like to see. And again, I think it wasn't perfect. I don't think any of these are, but it kind of gives us an idea, like Jason was saying, hey, they seem to be enjoying our parks. And so I think that it's important. I think you guys did a good job to start with. And I'm not asking for another survey right off the bat personally, but I am in a year from now, whatever, I want you to reflect on it, look at others, we can do it again.
I would like to piggyback that. Thank you very much to all of you. But to what Director McMaster said, I did not do this completely by myself, and it relied on a number of folks from our team. In particular, I want to apologize to Kellen and Max, because I know at least one question I left golf out. That was not on purpose. It was pointed out by some of our respondents as they wrote it in an other. I also wanted to point out that I thought Kat Ricker and Kayla McElligott were really essential to getting this out, both getting the mailer out as well as some of the communications that went out to make sure people actually completed it, and helped with that response rate. And then folks on both Brian's team and Julie's team helped shape some of these questions and make sure we didn't miss excessive amounts of things. I think Kellen and Max were one of the people I did not consult with, so they probably would have caught the golf miss. But hopefully the golf folks don't hold it against me too much. But they really were really crucial to doing that. In particular, I think that Nicole and Matt and Brian, I don't remember who on your team did it, but I know that I had people help me. So, but it was really appreciated, the assistance and the team effort that went into it. So it was really great to see.
Any other discussion on that? All right, then I think we'll jump into board comments. Jim, you're up on the screen there. You want to start us off?
Well, first of all, Nick, you're doing a great job.
Thanks. Thanks.
I don't really have any comments besides I appreciate all the hard work the staff is doing, and I'm just hearing great things from our community, and when they see how important our participation is to them. So thanks again, everyone, including the board of directors, for volunteering and doing what they do. So thanks.
Jason?
Yeah, so in the last board, the last meeting that we had, we were talking about Ewing Young, and we decided to go out and go see the neighbors that lived around Ewing Young. When I was elected, in '22. I remember a lot of heated discussions from people who lived around the park. They didn't want to have this bridge in there. And, I think I was the only person that voted against building this bridge. Not because I didn't want the bridge, but mostly I didn't want to have a fight with the county. And I was concerned about the cost. But that being said, I was outvoted, and that's okay. This board decided to move forward, and I believe that's probably the right thing to do. So Jim McMaster and myself, we decided to go door to door and meet with the neighbors that lived around this Ewing Young Park to find out what their concerns were. And I have to tell you that I was really surprised, because when I went to go meet these neighbors, I believed it was going to be one after the other telling us about how they did not want to have us expand this park and put this bridge in. But what we found is, as we were talking to these people, there's no doubt that there were some people that have apprehension to it. But more often, when we spoke to these people, we found that a lot of them were excited about the idea of having access to this park from their own property. There's concerns from some people that they don't want people to be able to access their property from the park. And some people were concerned about it being accessible and have theft and vandalizing and whatever. But more often than not, we heard that people were interested in us moving forward with this project. And the one big takeaway that I have from doing this is, when we're going to do a project and we're going to be affecting somebody's property, I think it is a really good idea to actually go out and speak to the neighbors who own that property versus shoving it down their throat. Because the thing is these people, even people who disagreed with moving forward with this, they had some very good, valid points. And I'm really glad that Jim McMaster and myself, that we took this opportunity to speak with these guys. So another thing is we had the open house, and I think it was a good thing. I think people got to come in and ask some good, valid questions about what we're doing and what we have done in the past and what we're going to be doing moving forward. And I think there was some value in that as well. So that's all I got.
All right, so I'll go next. So one thing that came up quite a bit in the survey, it was part of the open house, is a place for bikes in our district. It's something we've all talked about at this table to the public. And Clay mentioned we're part of we all know we're part of this Recreation Ready grant through Travel Oregon, and they have a mountain bike development expert, would you say, is that a fair statement, on their staff. And so I think I would like to see us pursue working with them to do some sort of feasibility study, to look at all of our properties around the district and what properties do we currently own, and maybe properties that we could own in the future potentially that would be good locations for bikers. I do think that needs to happen sooner than later, so I'm just kind of throwing that out as we go into the new year, if that can be on your very long to-do list, Clay, to pursue that and maybe provide some more information for us in January or February, whatever fits.
Okay.
Okay, we had a City Club speaker, the president of George Fox University, speak. Clay and I were both there. It was a great presentation, especially George Fox talking about what the university does within the community, within the different organizations in the community, whether it be the hospital, whether it be social services, governments. I know in the past we've done some stuff with George Fox, and I think it kind of got me excited about maybe rejuvenating that. I know in the past I think the tennis courts that were at the George Fox facility, we built them, they maintained them, they provided the property, and that's why they were open to the public. Just made me kind of think, let's continue to nurture that relationship. It's kind of interesting to hear. George Fox is working with everyone in the community, and I think we need to get back in the mix of that. And then also kind of seconding what Jason said. I think what we're now doing is, what this district desperately needs to be doing and really needed to be doing probably 10, 15 years ago, which is communicating with the public. We serve them, not vice versa. And a little communication goes a long way, whether it be a survey, whether it be an open house. I mean, this is like the first open-ended type open house event we've had since, 1962.
Ever.
Yeah. So, I mean, we need to be doing more of this, and we're going to engender more goodwill with the people we serve. And, something that I've been saying a lot is we need to be depoliticizing things that really aren't political. A trail of all nights, I know everyone's thinking about trails right now, but it shouldn't be a political war, a trail or a bridge or whatever. These things should be about good policy making. And, a big part of that is what Jason said. If we start the process from the beginning, talking to the neighbors, talking to the people who border our parks, talking to everybody, and really gaining consensus, again, you're never going to have 100%. But you're probably going to go from threats of litigation and anger and appeals and land use problems to probably, okay, we can work this out. And that's really where we need to be as a district and as a county and city and all of us. We just need to get to that point where we're not fighting and litigating and yelling and screaming about everything. We can get things done if we actually communicate, we're transparent, we're open, and we work together. So I think we're now starting to do that, and it's kind of exciting because I think it's actually going to work. So.
Let's see, last month, I think it was, they had the Special Olympics swimming at the pool. And the teams were organized by county, and Yamhill County, at least when I was there, they took home the most gold, so it was awesome. And it kind of reminded me to be mindful of how we speak up here when we say things like no levies, no taxes, no bonds, and like if with that mindset, would we have the pool? And I'm not saying that those are like the end-all, be-all, first answer, best answer. And I'll just speak for myself. That's kind of where I want to go is, how can we utilize our tools in the best way? The survey results were awesome. Yeah, definitely take them with a grain of salt. There was no IP tracking, so somebody could have taken it 100 times, But that's kind of wasn't the point. It was just a kind of 1,000-foot view. But yeah, the bike thing, I wasn't in the back room with you guys back there, but it was very popular. I don't know if staff wants to consider putting on the agenda for January or February, the discussion of bikes, so that it's just an official thing. We can kind of reach out to the bike community and say what's going to be on the agenda. Don't make any decisions, right? We're just going to talk, figure out how we can work towards that. But for me, that's kind of livability in the community is how do we utilize the areas we have and use them to the best of their abilities, like with Ewing Young, right? If we can access it, that gives the public access to their land. If some of the land we have over by the golf course, can we be creative on fields? I don't know for a fact, but I mean, just those kinds of discussions that I'd personally like to learn about, hear about. Obviously, from staff, their expertise. I think that's the gist of it. So, yeah, thanks.
Any last additional comments?
Yeah, I'd like to follow up if I could. I was talking with a prior board member today, and he was telling me that there was a time where Don had gone and spoken with every single property owner that lines up between our CPRD property, the golf course, the Third Nine, and our campground site. And at one point, verbally, he had approval from every last property owner to let us lease or something where we were going to be able to use a piece of the property. And I think rather than let this thing go on and on and on and on, I think that it would be really a great idea to have maybe myself and another board member actually go out and not, maybe not until after the first of the year. But I think it'd be a good idea for, let's see if we can get some traction on this so that we can possibly access this property. And if we could, you know, this could be a piece of property in which bicycles could use. So I think that would, I don't know, Clay, I think that you should be part of that. And I don't know if you would be willing to do it, Matt. I don't know if you'd be willing, or if you're too busy, or maybe.
No,
another
you're
board.
talking about accessing the 219 property.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, I think, and that's something that, what you were saying, the bike trail expert, we have over 1,100 acres
Yeah.
in this district that we own. So if that can be looked at in a very scientific and objective way, you know, what kind of trails can be built there, what would be ideal for certain kinds of mountain biking.
Right.
Different difficulty levels, all that kind of stuff. I believe that the 219 property and other potential properties probably could really serve well. And I think maybe we wait and let them do that.
Yeah.
And then we can start prioritizing, okay, what are the barriers? Is it access? Is it multi-use? What are the barriers for each property? And I think, you know, and I know I told Clay this, I think 219, if we could actually access it, I think it would be one of the top priority properties.
Yeah, and my thought is on this, even if it wasn't going to be used for bicycles, it would be really great for the general public to be able to access that piece of property for other use.
Yeah.
So I still believe that it would be in our best interest sometime after the first of the year to devise a plan and strategy to go out and meet these property owners.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I think, getting face to face with people, like you've mentioned multiple times, goes a long way.
Yeah.
Well, great. Without further ado, we'll move on to old business, Citizens Advisory Committee updates. Let's start with the golf committee.
I'm Roger Coleman. I'm the co-chair, I guess, of the Golf Advisory Committee, Golf Clubhouse Advisory Committee. Just want to let you know we're going to be meeting next Monday at 5:30 here. And on our agenda, we want to finalize, I guess there was some confusion about the report. And so we want to finalize or make sure we provide you with the final draft or final report from the committee that was done back in June, but there's some questioning. So we're going to do that. We're hoping for an update from the staff on the consultant's study, and we really appreciate the agreement that has been agreed upon, and like a lot of the timeframes, a lot of the meetings going on and things. I think it's going to be a good report for what the possibilities are there. We have to also talk about. We had a subcommittee put together to talk about what's the future of our committee, what kind of things are we interested in doing, and hopefully they'll come back to us and report what they came up with. And then we're hoping to have a discussion with our board liaisons on your meeting back in October about the roles of citizen advisory committees, and maybe talk to us about guidance of where we might want to go, and maybe looking at the pickle board advisory group as an option or something for us to look at. So that's what's going on at the Clubhouse Committee.
Thank you, Roger. All right, Trails Committee?
Yeah, no update tonight.
No update tonight. Okay. Pickleball Committee and no more. All right, let's move on to the superintendent's report and project updates.
I'm going to assume that you all read my superintendent report, and with that in mind, I'm going to basically say I don't have much of a report. I appreciate all the comments that were made about the open houses. I did share the room with Jason, but I didn't talk to him from the time we started until minutes after we officially closed, because it was so packed the whole time. It was really fantastic to see a community event that had that much interest and that much there, and I think we had the best snacks. So
What?
Rennie Field. Rennie Field.
That's right.
Did you
That's
go
right.
over there?
We had pizza and beer.
Oh, well, okay.
I told you I didn't see him the whole time. I don't know what he was doing. We did have hot cider and like little cookies and things like that, so I thought we were doing good. There was no concession stand, but who likes red vines anyway? But if you have questions about anything in the superintendent report, I'm happy to answer them, but I think it's all in there as far as some of the things that are coming up right now. So with that, I would just say, are there any questions about the superintendent report or the capital projects report?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, go right ahead.
Yeah, real quick, it's coming up on the evaluation of our superintendent.
Right.
I've been talking to some others about that. So I will be filling in the board soon about that because, believe it or not, Clay has been here in February for a year already. Whoa. So it's coming up. So we want to make sure that we do that thoroughly. So I will, Brendan's working with me on that, and we will bring it back to you soon.
Thank you.
Any discussion or questions for Clay? No. Anything to add, Clay?
No. I'll hand it over to our staff for the activity reports,
Great.
I think is the next.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be quick. I wanted to mention that we have some exciting things coming up. The first one, we have Santa at the pool this year. It's going to be the first time that we've done that, and so December 21st, 22nd, and 23rd, we're gonna have Coco pictures, and Santa's gonna be there.
There's snowballs, I heard.
Snowballs. So it's the first time we've done it. We're really looking forward to it. So I wanted to mention that. Wendy and Krista do a great job over there. I also wanted to mention that for the open house, we have an incredible display over there out of Legos. If you want to look at it, Matt Compton was the one who was involved in that, and he just did such a great job. And then I wanted to mention too that I have a flyer on it, but let's see, how do I say this? All 6 elementary schools in the Newburgh School District, all the second graders are going to be bused to the aquatic center, and they're all going to receive free lessons. So that is a result of a grant that Krista Miller, who is our aquatic specialist, applied for. And with that grant, she and her team went over to the high school and taught CPR, all of that. And with that, the second term of those lessons was teaching those Newburgh High School students how to teach swim lessons. So those kids that were involved in that class are going to be teaching all those second graders. So another example of working with Newburgh, the school district, and how important that relationship is between both of us so that we can provide opportunities to the kids in our district. So all 6 will be participating. They're going to bus them. So I just thought that was great, and shout out to Krista Miller for applying for that grant, and we're really proud of that program.
Can I ask, what's the cost? What is that? How much is that grant worth?
$22,000.
It costs $22,000 to teach these children how to swim?
No. It's actually a lot of things, and okay, how do I explain it? It applies to teaching at the high school, right? So we're putting on classes at the high school, and so we're using our employees to teach those classes. So that $22,000 is going to last us 4 years or a couple years, 5 years
Okay.
maybe,
Very
something like
good.
that. But the kids that are going to be teaching the swim lessons, that expense, that's going to be a free to the schools. Let's just say that.
Wonderful.
So, yeah, so it's really neat.
Super.
I'm really proud of Krista for going out and getting that.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
Thank you.
I have nothing.
We love you, Brian.
It's muddy out there, huh?
Anything else?
Yeah, we miss Jim, but you're doing a great job.
Thanks. I'm not coming for his job. Don't worry. All right, then I would like to motion to adjourn the meeting.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.